Welcome to Week 3 Boom Bust Show, brought to you by the Fantasy Football Advice Network. I'm Corey, and I'm joined by my brother Kyle. We're going to break down some booms and busts at each position for you for your Week 3 fantasy football matchups. We'll also throw in some defensive streamers and kicker streamers in there for you, too. You ready to get started, Kyle?
Heck yeah, man. Week 3, let's go.
Let's do it. Alrighty. So we're going to start out with our quarterback boom of the week, which is...
Mr. Kirk Cousins. I wish I had found a picture of him all blinged out to throw on there because he's ready. You like that? But, he had a pretty good game against Philly, 4 touchdowns. I think he's going to have a pretty good game. I don't know if you can predict 4 touchdowns again, but he's playing a potential shootout against a worse defense. The Chargers are 31st against QBs in fantasy points. I think he has this passing offense is incredible with Addison and Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson. Today they trade for Cam Akers, maybe boost that running game a little bit, could help that passing game even more. Who knows? But I'm loving me some Kirk Cousins against the Chargers this week.
Yeah, that offense went from a really run-heavy offense with Dalvin Cook to a very pass-happy offense without Dalvin Cook, and they are just throw. And every week you see all of his receiving options are all producing along with it. Hawkinson producing, Justin Jefferson still producing, Addison producing. They're just throwing so much, and Kirk Cousins is stepping up into that system and doing really well. And yeah, he had a great week 2 against what's supposed to be a fantastic Philadelphia defense, and he just tore them apart.
Yeah, and it's funny too because the traditional thing with an offense like this is, there's so many mouths to feed. They're going to rotate big weeks and blah. Well, we saw this last week. Hawkinson, Addison, JJ, they can all have a big week in the same week in this offense, and that is super valuable to have that quarterback throwing them those balls to him.
I agree. Alrighty, so then your bust QB of the week.
Oh, bust QB of the week. And as a Cowboys fan, it makes me happy to make him my bust of the week. Mr. Daniel Jones. Of course, he got annihilated by the Cowboys in week 1. He had a pretty good game statistically against Arizona, but they had to come from behind to win against probably the worst team in the league this year. And now they got San Francisco. So another big defense, just like Dallas. I think they get after him all day long, and I don't think he has a very good time.
No, I agree. I think they're going to be able to put major pressure on him, just like you said, against Dallas. And he doesn't have the type of receiving options to bail him out. Plus,
no.
Harder, and that's just a dangerous situation for Daniel Jones. I agree. That's two running backs. Alrighty. Boom running back.
Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs. And they're playing Atlanta, who is a pretty good matchup for running backs as it is. And I know everybody's been a little weary with Gibbs, not maybe getting the workloads they hoped right out of the gate. But David Montgomery looking like he's going to miss this game. I don't think they've confirmed it 100% yet, but it's going to happen. So I think this is the week we see the true breakout from Jahmyr Gibbs against Atlanta with no David Montgomery playing.
Yeah, we've already seen Jahmyr Gibbs be very electric when he gets the ball, and he had a pretty decent week too, getting a little over 12 points there. But like I said, if Montgomery's out this week, then he gets to carry the load, and that's what everyone, all of fantasy football owners have been waiting for, is to see this guy unleashed, and I think we're about to get it, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I am too. I think him with a full workload is going to be, and they still have Craig Reynolds and stuff, but no, they don't have anybody left that's going to threaten that workload like a David Montgomery. So he should get pretty much all the work this week, and I'm excited for it.
Well, like I said, Atlanta's a great matchup there, so I'm sure the coaches are also curious as to the kind of workload Gibbs can take and what he can do with it as well.
It's going to be Gibbs versus Bijan this weekend, and it's going to be very exciting, I think.
I think so. Alrighty. So then your bust running back.
My bust one, and honestly, it kind of hurts because I have a lot of stock in him in my leagues. He's been playing very well the first 2 weeks. He's had a big workload, been very productive with those workloads. Unfortunately, this week he plays the Dallas defense, who has so far shut down Barkley, Dalvin Cook, and Brees Hall the last 2 weeks. I mean, they held Hall and Cook last week to under 20 yards rushing combined. Like, I love James Conner as a player, but I just don't think he's going to get much in the way of fantasy points for your team this weekend because they still got a backup QB with no Kyler Murray. So the pass game is going to be non-existent essentially. Like you think Dallas versus Daniel Jones was bad, this weekend's going to be rough for Arizona. So if I got any other options this week besides James Conner, I'd much rather start them.
I mean, I don't know that I can add much to that. I mean, playing against that Dallas defense, I would only be surprised if James Conner plays the entire game. I mean, this thing could be out of hand, and they could just sit their starters at some point. So
I could see that, yeah.
yeah. So I'm avoiding any Cardinal this week. So alrighty. Guys, I'd like to take a break really quick to just invite you to visit fantasyfootballadvice.com and join for free the social media network 100% dedicated to fantasy football. There's a whole community on there. You can go on there, ask your questions 24/7. People are on there answering questions, asking questions. There's content ranging from articles to videos to podcasts. You can support your favorite content creators. Go over there, check it out, join the community, have some fun, and let people help you win your weeks if you got questions or help others as well. So go have fun over there. Alrighty, let's get back over here to your boom wide receiver.
Yeah, man, Mr. George Pickens. And it kind of feels a little obvious coming off of a good game against Cleveland, but Cleveland has been playing very good defense lately. So him having that kind of a game against Cleveland, I know there was a big chunk of that came off of one long touchdown play, but I think it translates to this game versus Las Vegas very, very well. He's the clear top guy with Deontay on IR. So, a better matchup, I think he'll get more catches, and I think it'll be because he only had 4 catches, but it's on 10 targets against Cleveland. So it's like, okay, if you can turn more of those targets into more catches, more yards, maybe a touchdown still. Again, I think there's big boom potential against the Las Vegas defense this week.
Yeah, you mentioned it. 10 targets. That means he's the go-to guy right there, and I'm loving that. That's a lot of opportunity that you
Yeah,
want. And let's face it, Pickens is a great wide receiver,
he
and
is.
so
He's
yeah,
amazing.
and he is top dog right now. So yeah, go for it. Alrighty, now your bust wide receiver.
My bus wide receiver is playing against the team that Pickens played against last week. DeAndre Hopkins versus Cleveland at Cleveland. Um, like I said, Cleveland's been playing very, very good defense. They're actually like 5th against team's top receivers. I think Tannehill is also going to struggle with this Cleveland defense. I think Cleveland defense gives him a hard time all day. I don't think he has a chance to even get many balls out towards Hopkins. I just don't see this offense having a good day this weekend.
That Cleveland defense has been playing very solid.
Very
I mean,
surprisingly well. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
think anybody anticipated the level at which they're playing so far. And I know people are gonna say like week 1, yeah, the weather was a little wonky,
right.
but they played strong still. And against Pittsburgh, they looked really, really strong. And I think Pittsburgh has a better offense than the Titans. So I think the Titans are going to struggle mightily against them this week.
I agree. And we didn't see Hopkins really shine last week against the Chargers, who were much easier. to go against than Cleveland. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, not looking great there.
No.
Alrighty. Let's move on to tight ends.
Yeah. So my boom tight end, there's a little bit of math, a little bit of gut here. All right. George Kittle, he's struggled the first 2 weeks. There's no doubt about it. But I think playing against the Giants, who has not been defending tight ends well, I think they make an effort to get him more involved this week because I think they'll be able to exploit those matchups more. And I mean, last week, they made Ertz look like an all pro, like which he used to be. He's not anymore. And he's still splitting with Trey McBride now. But if Ertz can go crazy against them, I think George Kittle can too, and maybe even worse. So I'm really expecting that finally Kittle drafters will get that breakout game this week and hopefully keep it rolling through the rest of the season.
Now, you know me. I love me some Kittle, and I love that he's a Norman boy. Coming from Norman gives
Oh
me a
yeah.
little bit of love for him here. So, I think it also helps him that Ayuk is banged up.
Yes, that will help too.
So that plays into Kittle's advantage a little bit more too there. So he's bound to get warmed up and going here. He's had a little bit of a slow start, like you mentioned, but he's bound to break out. And the Giants just are not looking good. And so,
That team's looking so rough this year, and I didn't expect them to look that bad.
yeah,
'Cause
I
They,
expect the 49ers to have the ball quite a bit.
yeah, I do too. I do too.
So I'm liking that. And even if I don't, do you think it's possible that the Niners also care that Kittle has had a little bit of a slow start and maybe they take advantage of the good
Well,
matchup and try to get him going?
yeah, and that's kind of what I was insinuating when I was talking about the gut feeling.
Yeah,
I think having the 2 weeks, having exploitable matchups this week, I think they do make that concerted effort to maybe try to get him on track.
right. Yep. Almost like they forced it to happen, not
Yeah.
just naturally even. Yep. Alrighty, let's go to your bust tight end.
Bust tight end. I'm changing up the formula this week. The last two
All
weeks,
right.
I picked a player going against the New Orleans defense because I knew they're the toughest against tight ends, right? Well, it turns out Washington is also playing really good against tight ends this year. So I'm going with Dalton Kincaid, this week as my bust. They're playing Washington. They have looked really good against the Cardinals tight ends, the Denver tight ends. And Kincaid has been involved, maybe not as involved as drafters hoped. And I think even with what little bit he's been involved over the first couple of weeks, I think he'll struggle to get those kind of targets and stuff this week. So, you know, I'm really not expecting much from Dalton Kincaid this week.
And I mean, again, we have to remember that he's just a rookie, right? And it takes
Right.
rookies a little
Yeah.
bit to get in. In fact, I'm almost thinking I've been more surprised by his early production that he's had. Yeah, he hasn't broken 10 fantasy points yet, but I mean, he got close last week with a little over 9 points. To me, that was kind of surprising because he's also, on top of everything you mentioned, he's also fighting for targets with Dawson Knox still,
Yeah.
who has that familiarity and that rapport with Josh Allen. So he's still kind of fighting that off a little bit. It's just his first year. So matchup wise, it's difficult. Situation wise, it's a little bit difficult. All those things put together, formula for a bust.
Yeah. For sure. 100%.
Awesome. Okay, so that concludes the booms and busts that we have for you. So now let's move on to some streamers. So let's go to a streamer kicker for the week. Who you got here, Kyle?
My streamer kicker for the week is Dustin Hopkins with Cleveland. He's available on, I don't know the percentage, but a lot of waiver wires, almost all of them probably actually. But that matchup against Tennessee, I think Cleveland puts a lot of points on the board. Tennessee's defense, they can toughen up at times, so I could see a few field goals here and there. But if nothing else, I think he's going to get quite a few extra points, and I think he'll be a nice little plug and play for you.
Yeah, Tennessee could do that kind of bend don't break a little bit there. So either way, they'll be in scoring position quite a bit there for him, I think.
Yeah.
And let's face it, he kicked a 55-yarder last week. That's pretty big time. So that means he's got some distance on his leg there. He had a 43 and a 55-yarder, so that's 9 points right there. So even with his one miss, brings him back down 1 point. I mean, he still scored more than a lot of kickers did. So good
Yep.
leg. I like him. Alrighty, now let's go to a streaming defense for the week.
All right. My streamer defense of the week, probably my top defense of the week, period, if I'm being honest.
Hmm.
Like Jacksonville Jaguars against Houston Texans.
Makes sense.
I love it. Like they've played well. They've played Indy. They've played Kansas City pretty well so far. Houston has been sacked 11 times. CJ
Hmm.
Stroud's been sacked 11 times the last 2 weeks between Baltimore and Indianapolis's defense. I think Jacksonville is going to come in, wreck shop, and give CJ Stroud and the Texans a very rough day this week. If they're available, grab them and play them. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to say Dallas week one defense performance, but it's going to be nice.
I think it's going to be nice, but here's a little bit bonus, just cherry on top, too. You can pick them up as a streamer this week, and then the next week they play Atlanta.
Yeah.
So they're almost like a double streamer here because you'll get a pretty good matchup with Atlanta again next week. So this is a pretty valuable pickup as a defensive streamer for the next couple weeks.
And not just that, but if you have the roster spot to roster two defenses, they've really only got a couple of tough matchups in their whole schedule, right?
Yeah, I
Quick,
agree.
quick rundown going through Houston, Atlanta, Buffalo has not been as formidable as they have been the last few years.
Nope.
Not the worst matchup. Indy, okay, they already had a good game against them. New Orleans, Pitt, San Francisco, that'll be a tough one, right?
Rough.
Well, okay, so Pitt. So before San Fran, they got their bye. So then you got San Fran, Tennessee, Houston, both plus matchups.
Uh huh.
Cincinnati depends if they get their crap together or not on offense, right? Cleveland, which seems to be, kind of picking up steam. Baltimore could be dangerous. Tampa Bay, I think they can hold Tampa Bay in check, and then Carolina, Tennessee. They have one of the best schedules in football for a defense. So
I
if you can
agree.
pick somebody up that complements that well, and maybe a few of those tougher matchups line up with easy ones, like I would totally hang on to Jacksonville for the season.
Yeah, you're not going to find the perfect defense doesn't have to play a tough game or three.
Right. Right.
So everyone's got to play a couple tough games a year, a few tough games at least, right? But this Jacksonville defense they had, depending on what format you're in, 9 points, against Kansas City, who's a top offense, right? So they're going to hold their own against a Buffalo or a Cincinnati or,
Yeah.
well, Cleveland, Baltimore. They're going to be fine. Maybe be worried a little bit about that Tampa Bay matchup because our boy Baker is looking so good this year, and I'm loving that. So maybe be a little worried about that Tampa Bay in Week 16. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty confident about Jacksonville's most weeks this year.
Yeah. Me too.
Yep, awesome. All right, guys, that concludes our booms, busts, streamers, all that good stuff. Just a reminder, you can go to fantasyfootballadvice.com and sign up for free for our social media network that is 100% dedicated to fantasy football. Ask your questions, watch videos, read articles, listen to podcasts, support your favorite content creators, all that good stuff. Go join the community and help each other win your leagues. So, alrighty, that's going to conclude week 3 Boom Bust Fantasy Football. Go check out selloutcrowd.com and get all that great content. My goodness, how cool is all that content? The interviews with Bob Stoops are some of my favorite content to digest now. And so,
Me too.
fantastic stuff.
Bob Stoops.
And getting to watch Sam Mays do his thing and stuff. There's just so many good content creators on there giving you everything you need for Oklahoma sports. So go check that out as well. And until week 4, we'll see you later and good luck this week.